What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the vlog. Happy New Year. My name is Filip Latocha, and today we are going to be talking about my stress test assessment of the Nike Pegasus Turbo Shields after some amount of distance, but realistically just putting it through some elements that I've been running in the past few weeks that I've had this shoe. So before we get into the actual assessment, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, because 2021 or 2020 remastered is going to be a bombshell of a year for running and probably for my running career. So we're going to see how things go on that front. But yeah, if you're a continued supporter of the YouTube channel, thank you so much for your continued support. I love all of you guys. And with that in mind, yeah, let's get into it. So, the Nike Pegasus Turbo Shield. It's not the Turbo 2. This is the model that I believe is from either late 2018, early 2019, or maybe even earlier than that. Basically, this is one of the earlier renditions of the Turbo Shield series shoe that's come out. It might be the only one of this particular nature as well, because Nike's been unleashing the Shield products as they've been going along, but I think if we're going to be fair, a lot of them don't compare to this particular style of the shoe and, you know, the obvious features which make it very friendly for winter running. But again, we'll get into that. So first things first, let's talk specs. Stack height from heel to toe is about 10 millimeters, just like any other Pegasus Turbo, either original or 2. Both shoes, of which case I think most people understand, have a similar feel based on their uppers and whatnot. But again, we'll get into that. So 10 millimeters stack height from heel to toe, which makes it a very comfortable, recognizable ride if you've had the Pegasus Turbo Series shoe previously. That being said, the weight of the shoe is about 10 ounces, which puts it at about 280 grams. And that's about the average weight of this shoe. This particular one is 8.5, so that means it's going to be a little bit less than that. And then, of course, the women's size, at size 10, to my understanding, is about 7.5 ounces, so that kind of shrinks a lot more. Basically, it's at least 25% less than the original Peg Turbo as you see it. So that's kind of basically the overall specs on that front. Let's, of course, talk about the bottoms. So it is the signature Pegasus Turbo bottom foam lug structure that everyone has come to love and recognize from this particular shoe. I've come up with this theory that the lugs are slightly larger and slightly above raised from the rubber, and I think my assessment may be correct on that front. Again, I didn't go into the research of looking it up necessarily, but it's visibly slightly different than, I would say, the Peg Turbo 2, and I'm not going to look at my previous pair because those are kind of already worn, so they're going to look a lot less than this one. I digress. Of course, it's got good rubber on this front. Based on the stress test, I'll give you my assessment of different elements and whatnot. And then, of course, here we have the foams. We do have a Zoom X running on the bottom, and we have a React here in the middle here. The React is what your foot is essentially landing on. Very comfortable ride indeed. And I'm a huge fan of this particular rubber style. It is very comfortable. It's not going to wear you out necessarily if you're running. It's going to be very fast. It's not going to be a very harsh landing because of course, with some carbon plate and nylon plate shoes and some other shoes that are actually on the market that are a lot tougher. The Pegasus Turbo has always been a consistently all-around comfortable ride on the roads. So that's why I think people have come to love and enjoy this particular style of shoe. Let's talk upper. This is, of course, the most unique portion of the shoe that everyone is inquisitive about in terms of its stress testing abilities. So, of course, as you can see, we've got the purple and the black weather protected mesh that's here on the upper, which of course is marketed for being able to be weather resistant. So if it's either rain, if it's snow, if it's ice, the point of this upper is to be able to deflect and prevent any sort of water absorption from the upper into basically your actual foot or the sock of your shoe. As far as I'm concerned, this is doing its job just fine. We will, of course, put a second stress test like later on in the spring during like a really heavy rainy day to see how that goes. But of course, I'm giving you this stress test based on snow itself. What else we got? So of course, there's no shoelaces on the actual shoe. It is actually using Velcro with this Nike Utility Series type of Velcro lock, which is right here. We'll go into how you put on the shoe once we get to that step. And of course, once you put that utility on, it is zipper locked here, which gives it a nice snug fit once you get all the Velcro figured out. On the closer to the ankle side, as you can see, there's this like second layering of a sock here. And what this is supposed to do is basically just keep your foot a lot more snug once it's inside. And it's supposed to act as, I guess, a redundancy to keep your foot warm. And also to keep it from, realistically, if you have like a thin sock, from basically rubbing against this mesh upper in the wrong way. And it's basically, in my opinion, working pretty well. I like it a lot. It's just I do have some questions. As we get there, I'll talk about it there. And yeah, basically this is supposed to be acting what I feel like is a ski boot, or if you guys have never had a ski boot before, it's basically just this sock inside a tougher upper shell, which it just allows you to have some mobility, some comfort, and this is supposed to act in tandem with the upper once you're in the middle of your run. So that's kind of what's going on here. And of course, it's utilizing a lot of utility pieces, which I'm guessing the sock is a utility piece. The Velcro straps are utility, and of course we do have some other pieces that are utility based. I think we're going to get to it. I think it's here, this back hook, which somebody in the comment section said below, it's to help you put on the shoe. But I do have questions about that, because when you put on the shoe, the only two pieces you really need to pull are these two straps right here to get your foot into this actual sock. This doesn't really do much justice for putting on the shoe, because once you're in the sock, you just lock yourself in and you're kind of good to go. And then of course you gotta zip it too, but whatever. So I don't think that's what this is intended for. I still think this is just either a decoration or it's a way to hang up the shoe if you're looking for a way to dry it. Again, not an expert on that. I'm sure people have different uses for these hooks, and like a lot of shoes have these particular hooks as a design or a decoration. It's hard to say exactly how that's going. Let's talk about how we put on the shoes. So of course, you put in your foot into this particular sock. You pull yourself in with these straps, and then you do lock yourself in with this Velcro utility strap. There's only one. The second one here is just immobilized. You can't really do too much with it, which is okay. Once you put yourself in, this piece of the shoe kind of comes around and straps itself to the Velcro here. But before I do that, I zip up the shoe, but I do pull this so the zippers are quite lined up so you don't rip the zipper in any sort of way. And then from here, this is something critical I've been very picky about previously. This strap right here, I think, is acting as a secondary protection piece, but its unintended outcome is that it scratches your ankle if you're not wearing a high enough sock or too thin of a sock to protect your upper ankle, basically the area above the ball of your foot. So what I do now is I fold it, I basically fold it, let's see if I can do this right here, if we can match it, there we go. I fold it in a way where it's not going into the sock of the shoe, but just right outside of the sock, and then I put the Velcro over it. And that's the way I prevent this piece from basically scratching my foot, because it has been annoying on my first run ever with it, and some runs while I was out stress testing it were also kind of annoying if I didn't have a long sock, so I kind of solved that equation with that. And there we go. I think that's going to be like the first few minutes here, just basically explaining this shoe here. So let's talk stress test. So when I'm thinking stress tests, I came up with 3 pieces of criteria to analyze. 1 was, how is it handling the elements? 2, how is the speed of the shoe during the stressful elements? And 3, what is the lifespan and your decay in the shoe ultimately feeling like? So lifespan obviously means like, how is the shoe holding up in the stressful conditions? And the decay is how fatigued you're getting in this particular shoe. So actually, maybe it's 4 different elements. Fine. So let's start with the first one. How is it handling the elements? Well, let me tell you. So the year before, from 2019 into 2020, when I was running during our ski season up in Minnesota, I had a pair of Vaporflies that I was running in, and it was a pretty bad play. The snow was very deep on the trails. You couldn't go fast. Your feet, your socks, the entire shoe just got wet, and it was just not a good time to run, basically in snow in those conditions. So when I knew we were going to go on this ski trip again, and I knew about like the Chicago winters and things like that, I had to get my hands on one of these. And basically, I bought them at a pretty okay time on stocks for slightly less than what the rest of the third-party markets are selling this for right now. And I just had to test it. I had to have it for these winter conditions just to see what would happen. Everything about this shoe has basically exceeded my expectations in terms of protecting myself from the snow. It was warm before and after the runs, felt exactly like the Pegasus Turbo that I had the year prior, minus the fact that I was a little bit heavier because of all the extra moving parts affiliated with the shoe. But I gotta say, it was just excellent running in snow with this, despite the fact that there was a little bit of other things to question in terms of this stress test. Running on ice. This is probably something you guys might question. I don't think there's a single shoe I can think of that's just good on running on ice with. The Peg Turbo wasn't great with it, but you were able to at least have a little bit of forgiveness in terms of recognizing when you were running on ice before slipping and totally just like, eating shit, more or less. So in that front, I would not recommend this for ice running. Definitely for snow, maybe some like rocky, gravelly trail to an extent. But yeah, the idea is you want to run with this particular thing on like snow, maybe even deep snow up to like your ankles, or if you got like an extra sock to protect you, go for it. It's not a bad deal. Your foot will stay warm in this with the inclusion of the utility sock and basically the protection from the snow sinking into this shoe. So in terms of speed, the shoe is performing exactly how I would expect Pegasus Turbo to perform if it was slightly heavier and basically running through snow where you don't have a whole lot of grip on soft surfaces. But again, the speed is really great once you're able to hit like flat ground and push yourself in this shoe. I felt like it was exactly like any Pegasus Turbo or Pegasus Turbo 2 I've run in prior. It's just, of course, you can't expect it to be as fast as like some of those lighter shoes that are basically within the same family of shoe. Let's talk about life and decay of the shoe. So, in terms of life, let's look at the bottoms, and I'll just tell you guys, I've put in approximately, according to Strava, like 30 to 40 miles on these shoes, and it's obvious that because you're running in snow far more often than usual, the wear on this shoe is extremely minor. Like, I'm not even kidding. You can still see the original design of the grip here on the outsole where I typically shred these things. And you can also see it on the lugs, more or less, that the life of the shoe is going to do just fine, with the major caveat, of course, if and only if your conditions are very snowy and you're hardly ever hitting concrete. Because obviously when you're running on like soft or tough snow, you're not really shredding nearly as much rubber as if you were to put, a little bit of friction on the shoe to rip off or melt some of the rubber on concrete per se. So yeah, I'm overall very happy with the lifespan of this shoe. This could probably last me a few seasons of snow running, if we're going to be completely honest. The only way I would stop running in this thing is if I destroy the upper in some way, if the rubber does eventually break down, or Nike releases like a Pegasus Turbo 2 Shield version, or like, man, if they put like a carbon plate in a Shield version shoe, that could be really interesting too. But in terms of like, yeah, the lifespan of this thing, it should last you a very long time if you're not really busting it on like concrete. And I think that goes for a lot of other shoes. Again, yeah, this is just like very cool. I'm very happy with the lifespan of it right now at 30 plus miles. Let's talk Decay. So the Decay is, the way I would put it is you're able to run fast in just about every shoe you can buy. The question at that point is how long can you maintain the fast speed that you're running in this particular shoe? So the equation is pretty obvious in this, that the heavier the shoe is, the sooner you're going to decay in terms of speed. That's just a no-brainer with basically a lot of things regarding shoes. So the shoe being 10 ounces, maybe slightly less because this is a size 8.5. The decay of this shoe's speed is kind of noticeable towards the end of your workouts, probably from 10K and above. It's not to say that you can't run like a half marathon or something like that in this particular shoe, but strictly in the conditions I was running in, it was very snowy. There was a lot of hills, ups and downs like basically on the trails I was running. And there was a lot of concrete sections too where you can explore the speed of this shoe and obviously pick it up to, in my case, if I'm pushing like 6-minute 550s in the tempo next percent, I'm able to comfortably put about 7 minutes 650 in this shoe with about the same effort. Once you're on the snow, like 750, 8 minutes per mile with a lot of slipping on the snow, a lot of just digging and just not having the perfect running form in this particular thing, makes the speed of this shoe ultimately get worse and worse as you're continuing a slightly different running stride, basically because the conditions are that much more different. But now, if you were to run strictly in concrete with this, I would imagine you would have a very similar, if slightly worse decay than like the Pegasus Turbo 2 that just exists on the market. Probably even slightly better than the original Pegasus Turbo as well. This one would be probably on the bottom of that list in terms of shoes that you would fatigue in faster, mainly because of its weight and, of course, all the extra moving parts that are associated with it. So those are my stress test elements that I went over, and I'll be the one to say it. Like, this shoe definitely passed the snow run tests that I had basically all week while I was out skiing. I was able to go skiing like the majority of the days that we were out there, and immediately after the ski trip I would eat something kind of small just so I can continue running in the shoe. And basically after the ski run that we would do, I would eat something small, lace up, and then just go for a quick run. And for those who know, they already know that when you ski and then go for a run, you'll find out that you're already warmed up for the actual run, and it's actually going to feel a lot better than you think. You would think you're going to be exhausted, you're going to be fatigued, maybe beaten up. The beaten up part, I guess we can't really control. If you've like, kissed the ice dragon a few times by falling or something, then yeah, you're going to have a rough time running if your body's entirely sore. But the moment you lace these things up after your ski trip or snowboard trip, you're just going to be able to fly in these things. You'll have a good time, your legs will be all warmed up, ready to go, and it only helps to have your feet stay warm in this particular pair. It gives you less to worry about after basically that type of scenario, and in the case of like you going for your snow run, you're going to have a lot less to worry about in terms of wet feet, cold feet with something like this. And you're going to have the same comfort and protections that the tempo, not the tempo, you'll have the same comfort, same ability to reach high speeds as the predecessors of the Peg Turbo and the Peg Turbo 2 to this particular shoe, with the elemental protection from snow and sleet that you would expect out of something like this. So, in terms of stress testing the snow, in my opinion, this shoe passes with flying colors, and I would definitely try to keep the lifespan of this shoe for as long as I can by running strictly in really bad snowy conditions so I can continue running when the elements are absolutely bonkers. So, I think that's all we got for now in terms of this stress test video. Again, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you like this content. 2021 is going to be super cool for this channel because we got a lot of cool things coming up as we start preparing for 3 World Marathon Major Series races in the span of 6 to 8 months. So, that's all I've got for now. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you guys real soon.